for Light and Life. We are live. It's Thursday night once again. And I must say, gentlemen, Brian, Jay, joining me as always. Well, mostly as always. This has been just a week for the record books. We had no technical difficulties when logging on. We had a successful transition into the live sphere, which I feel like has not happened in a while either. So we're the vibes are so high right now, and I think it's because we have like movie news to discuss this week, but maybe not like hardcore movie news, but something movie and TV,
tentative
film related.
Yeah.
And Ryan, I have a question. Is that R2D2 behind you? Is that new or has that been there for
this is brand new actually? So this is a project that I got over the weekend. He's actually made of like some kind of cardstock, but he's like, I had to put him together like a puzzle. Yeah, so he's like.
For those of you tuning in later on non-video formats, Brian has a very cool R2D2 going on in his little setup here, which is pretty cool. I thought I saw that and I'm like, which that's dangerous, I feel like, for me to mention on a live stream that, is that new? And you're like, actually, that's been there for the entire time.
What are you talking about? Yeah.
And it's like, oh, Tyler's an idiot. Like, Tyler doesn't pay attention to anybody. Oh, well. How are you guys doing this week before we get into it? I know it's been a minute since the three of us have all been on at the same time. Like, I feel like I see Brian every week for the timeline show.
Right.
I've seen Jay the last couple of weeks for the live show, but the three of us haven't quite come together in a minute.
Right. Yeah, no, it feels good, man.
It's like we're coming all together like the Avengers at the end.
And now you're coming together.
You missed Jay, you should tune in to the timeline show from this week where me and Brian just do a little Return of the Jedi music sesh for a little bit, just randomly in the middle of the episode. That should be our new intro music, and see if we can get the rights from that from
sued by Disney.
See, this probably costs just a pretty penny.
Do we really want to listen to that like every show? Like we just pop on and be like, and then just
we should.
Oh my god.
So let's talk Rogue Squadron, because apparently that's the thing again, as Patty Jenkins on this podcast said that Rogue Squadron is back, but maybe was never gone. It was such an interesting line. She said basically when Wonder Woman 3 was kind of scrapped, she worked out this new deal with Lucasfilm, and apparently they are waiting on like a draft from her. She's supposed to submit something to them here in whatever time frame that looks like. And I have two quick thoughts on this, and then I will throw it to you guys for your thoughts. One, I've always wanted this movie to happen. Like, I've always really wanted this movie to take place, because I grew up, some of the first books I read were those Rogue Squadron books by Michael Stackpole. And there's something about just a pure, just thrilling, dogfight, space battle, squadron movie that would be really appealing. And I wonder if, it was originally going to come out, right after Top Gun Maverick. And I wonder if it happens, if it comes out a long time after that movie, if that actually would really help this movie. Because I'm trying to imagine if Rogue Squadron had come out like that year after Top Gun Maverick came out. It's Star Wars, but I just feel like that wouldn't have hit quite as hard, because Top Gun Maverick's kind of that same like fight. Like Rogue Squadron, I feel like should be what Top Gun Maverick was, but just Star Wars. And so I feel like maybe some time goes by, we could roll with this. My second thought is this movie's never going to happen. Like, this is never going to happen. And we're talking about it right now, and we're going to waste about probably 10 minutes of our time talking about this. And we're going to look back in years and be like, remember, those 10 minutes we spent on Rogue Squadron on March 14th? Yeah, pretty inconsequential. Wish I could have that back. But Brian, Rogue Squadron, what were your initial, like, how severe was the whiplash when you heard this news?
I didn't believe it when I first saw it. I was like, there's no way that this is. I thought it was coming from some fan site, that was just talking about, out their ass, like a lot of fan sites do. But then, like, believe it or not, like, and I'm not trying to toot our own horn here, but I saw it from Newsnet on my Facebook feed, and I was like, is this, like, actually happening? Like, what? And so I started looking at it, and I'm like, man, you got to be kidding me. I'm like I got whiplash, because how many projects? This is the first project that has been announced, should have come out already, canceled, and then now it's back again. Like this is the
Supposed to
first
come out,
one
what,
they
last
officially
year?
came out. Yeah, and this is the first one that's been shelved that they officially came back out and said, no, we're still doing that. And
Right.
so, and I'm with you though.
But it's
I
not
think it'd
even
be a really
they
cool
coming
film.
out and saying it.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
it's
and
just Patty Jenkins in
it's
some
Patty, yeah.
random podcast.
But that's weird, isn't it? Like,
It
isn't that
is
kind of a
weird.
weird place to drop it?
It is
Basically,
weird.
to basically say there's another star. But I mean, where do all of these rumors start? You know what I mean about these films that are in production? I don't know. She was so wishy-washy when the whole thing was going on, saying this is still happening, even though we found out later that it wasn't when she said it
Right.
was. Like, so I take this with a huge grain of salt. But if it is happening, I'm all on board. I've wanted this movie since they first announced it at that shareholders thing when Kathy Kennedy put it out there. I've been wanting it since then.
It was so weird that when they announced it, they even had the little trailer for it and everything. Not like the movie, but she was on there. She's
Yeah.
wearing the flight suit. There's the X-wing behind her, and they did the whole thing for that. And then this movie just fell apart so fast after Wonder Woman 1984 came out. It just completely crumbled. And
Yeah.
so part of me wonders if there is like this deal of, yeah, you can submit us a draft and we'll talk. Like maybe
Right.
something here, but it's not like a submit us a draft so we can get to work on this right away. I still think the primary focus is going to be Mandalorian and Grogu. You know, the
Yeah.
Daisy Ridley movie is definitely priority number one for Disney right now. And then honestly, I think that the Filoni movie and the Mangold movie, those are still going to be a higher priority level than Rogue Squadron. So I wonder, what's going to go on there. Jay, if you were on as that podcast host and you had no idea that this was, something that she was going to say, because maybe they talked about this beforehand and she dropped that, would you have been able to compose yourself? Would you have fallen out of your chair? Would you have even registered what she said? Talk us through how you handle live breaking news on the spot.
How would I handle that? Well, in all honesty, like I looked at that like you guys, kind of just with a bit of befuddlement and a bit of disbelief. I think I would have just been like, "Oh, okay, cool." You
just no, stop. You just were like, okay, cool, all right. So next
Well,
up on the Patty Jenkins podcast,
Look, in his defense, though, that's the second time that we've heard anybody talk about, hey, we're making this movie. So
Yeah.
that's fair.
it kind of wore off after the first one.
the other thing too is I think like this still falls under a lot of these other Star Wars movies that have been announced a while ago and that are quote unquote still in the works. We got Taika Waititi's movie, we got the Lando movie,
the Lando movie.
Lando.
and so like those are two other movies right there that are quote unquote still in the works.
Still in the works.
Sean
baby.
Levy, even Sean Levy has another Star Wars movie that he's supposedly like working on.
Retiring from education, still waiting, still reading that the Jay will be hopping on Thursday nights to let me know the Lando movie is still in the works.
Right, it's like
If
It's
they wait
like-
too much longer, Donald Glover's gonna be the same age Lando is in Episode 9, so they need to like get after
they
it.
could say, hey, as long as Donald Glover's alive, they can do a Lando movie. Just we're gonna redo this, and it's just gonna be a post Episode 9 Lando
We're gonna have
movie
to
with a
recast Lando
75-year-old
again.
Donald Glover. That's what's gonna happen. I am really excited, more excited for this next bit of news. It's not. I don't even know if this is really considered news, but more of just like, okay, this is an interesting update. But so, and Brian, are we going to be able to keep you on for
Yes.
this segment?
Yes.
Are you going to behave yourself?
I'm wearing
for
my
this
mature
segment?
pants tonight.
Okay, very good. So let me put that back up there. The Daisy Ridley just
Ugh.
kind of, that's enough. That's
I'm
you're
sorry.
done. You're cut off. Okay. Did you get it out of your
Wow.
system?
Yeah, it's out of my system. We're good.
Okay. Thank you. I feel like that's not necessarily going to last, but we'll
I
see.
know. Yeah, we're good.
So Daisy has another new movie coming out, and she's actually been pretty busy lately, having a bunch of like smaller films that have been released. And I think the work for her starting to churn in. And of course, everyone wants to ask her about Star Wars, Ray. Like it's gonna be heating up so much over the next 2 years, given that this movie appears to be on track for that December 2026 mark. She said she has not read a script yet, which I thought was a little interesting that she hasn't even like read or seen like much of a script outside of just a few kind of like the gist of what's going on. I am not worried about that necessarily, but I was surprised. And she said that she thinks, filming's going to happen into this year, or beginning of 2025, which Miguel from Star Wars Newsnet on his weekly piece on Sundays said that, that's tracking with everything that he's been saying or thinking so far. And that, casting is expecting to start happening, anytime now. And so I wonder if we could be hearing any casting news from this within the next month. So my question for you, we'll start with you this time, Jay. Daisy said that it's imminent that she's going to be reading the script. When she gets the script, what do you hope Daisy Ridley's reaction is when reading the script? Do you hope that she is just, this tracks with everything that I thought, or do you hope that it like blows her mind at something completely different than maybe we're thinking? Like what kind of a reaction are you hoping that Daisy Ridley has when she ultimately gets the script for this movie?
Yeah, no, I think that it's weird because like you guys said earlier though, like, you're telling me she hasn't seen a script yet. That's kind of mind blowing. And we're 2 years. They're about to start filming soon, and 2 years away from it actually premiering. So I hope that, I mean, she's been saying like that from what she's heard or what they've shown her, that's already pretty mind blowing as it is. I'm kind of hoping that like when the script actually does show up on these actors' hands, that hopefully more of a return to like how like just having a good feeling Star Wars movies, not just like divisive, like a Last Jedi. I don't think we can go through another Last Jedi.
But has Star Wars ever been like non-divisive in terms of films? Like,
that's a good point.
Every Star Wars movie, Force Awakens, I feel like was pretty well received.
Sure.
And for the most part, I would say, I think that people came in on that going, okay, great return to Star Wars, even if it was kind of a similar carbon copy of A New Hope. I think most people were like, you know what, for our return to the theaters and Star Wars, it was epic enough. Thank you, Doug. Appreciate it. So I don't think that we can expect a united fan base when it comes to Star Wars in anything. I honestly, in anything. Like the only thing I've really feel like the Star Wars has been united on was Baby Yoda's appearance, because they were just like, oh, this is it was so unexpected and so out of nowhere that we were like, okay, I would like, I guess in terms of how divided it is, maybe it's just less toxic with the division. Like maybe it's one thing for people to have disagreements on like a film or the movie. Like I think that Return of the Jedi is beloved, but I think that people have very different opinions sometimes on aspects of Return of the Jedi. But it's not this, oh, you disagree with me on this part of Return of the Jedi, you must hate Return of the Jedi, which I think is what it's become with like some of the prequels and then now the sequel content. Brian, what do you think about that?
No, I look, I've been saying it for a long time. I think you said that you don't think there's any way to get like everybody to be, on the same page again. I think there's one project, and I've said this before, one project that I think actually could do it, and it's that Dave Filoni movie, the Heir to the Empire or whatever it is. I feel like that one, for some reason, could really bring everybody back together, because you're getting, obviously, Star Wars fans are going to go see it no matter what, but you've got, people. The Mandalorian movie is coming out first. That's a household name, basically, with it being on Disney Plus. Everybody and their grandmother knows who the Mandalorian and Grogu is. Baby Yoda. They're going to go see that movie. And then they find out the Heir to the Empire movie is going to be a follow-up. They're going to want to go see that. You're going to get everybody there. You're going to get canon fans. You're going to get Legends fans, because they could possibly be getting the big three together again. You know what I mean? There's a possibility that we could see, as well as whether I think it's going to go over well or not, but you're going to see the three together again. You're going to see Han, Luke, and Leia in this movie. And
that'll
with
bother
the Falcon,
me.
it's going to be. I know.
I don't want them in the movie.
I know, but and I don't think they're going to be main characters. They're just going to be cameos. That they're going to be there because it makes sense that they're there. Yeah. That's the only reason they're going to be there. It's not going to be focused on them, but it's going to be a chance for Legends fans to see them together again, the way they they feel like they should have been in the sequels. I think that could be the one if it's done right and done properly. That's going to be the best bet on bringing everybody together. Personally, I think
I would want the Falcon unless they had Alden Ehrenreich as like Han Solo or something, and like I would be fine with that. But other than that, I would just want maybe the Falcon in the movie and like the
Kinda
space
like the
battle or
Ghost was in
something.
Rogue One.
Yes, maybe a
Yeah.
little bit more pronounced because
Yeah.
you could synthesize the voices to a certain degree for like a
Right.
couple of lines if they're communicating via comms, and that's probably all I would want for that.
Yeah.
Jay, I don't think that it's mind blowing that she hasn't seen a script yet. I think
No,
it just
you-
shows
you
us
could
that
be
she's
right.
not. I think it just shows that she's not maybe as involved in like the production of the film as we thought
Right.
she might be, and
Right.
and so I think that is a little surprising. I thought she would kind of maybe have more of a producer type role here,
Sure.
but not seeing a script yet. I feel like it's gonna be within the next month. Like she's gonna
It's
have a
gotta be,
script,
right?
Like, with
Yeah.
their filming by the end of the year. It's gonna be coming soon. She used the word, I think, like she's reading it. She's gonna be getting it imminently. Like she's expecting it any day almost. That's what I kind of expected. This is my number one Star Wars project I'm excited for. I decided that 10 minutes ago, and just so everyone knows how much deep thought I put into saying that. I really am just excited about this. I think it's the idea of going into the future, I think really excites me. Just because we have all of this stuff going on in the Mandoverse. I'm probably least excited for that. So it's actually good that we have me and Brian doing this show because you have two different levels of excitement for everything. We're well-rounded in our upcoming movie stuff. And so I would say that it's not mind-blowing she hasn't seen it. Now, if we're here in June and she's still saying she hasn't seen a script yet, like this summer, I'm going to start wondering, okay, how much further back did this get pushed because of the strikes? Is probably what I'm starting to think. Moving on, another imminent release is coming soon, guys, and that has to be the Acolyte trailer. Am I right? Like it has to be the Acolyte trailer,
dude.
if the June 5th,
this is getting ridiculous.
And the words is like it's like I'm thinking like I'm like Stilgar right now, Dune 2. Like there are signs, okay? June 5th is supposed to be when it comes out. There's the mysterious Star Wars YouTube like video that is private that hasn't been released. Like there's the mysterious thing there. What else would it be at this point?
The Twitter account, yeah.
The Twitter account has, supposedly populated. It's there. It's lurking in the ether of Elon Musk's playground. And I'm telling you right now, this time next Thursday, I think we're gonna be talking about the trailer.
That's bold.
And we are gonna be so happy because we've been wanting this for so long. So I'm telling you guys, make sure your schedules are clear. Next Thursday night, we're gonna be sitting here talking about the Acolyte trailer. I believe it in my bones, like in the very fiber of my being, that it's gonna happen. Of course, if it doesn't happen, I will deny any record of saying this. We'll be editing it out of the video, and we're just gonna be moving on. That's how
I
how
do
it
the
works.
editing, buddy.
I'll be, I'm gonna get. I have so many 8th grade students. Surely 5 of them are successful hackers, so we can hack into Brian's stuff and it'd be no problem. Like I'm surprised they haven't hacked into my accounts yet. What are we thinking on Acolyte trailer?
Oh, it's coming. It's very close. The Twitter thing is what got me the most when they finally put the page up and basically only certain people could follow it. I was like, oh yeah, this is it. It's coming.
How excited are we for the Acolyte in the chat? Like, I want to know how excited. I know that the 3 of us are super excited, but Andrew says he hopes there's a trailer soon. The others that are in there, like, what do you guys? What's the hype level for the Acolyte right now? I'm curious because we're High Republic gurus over here and nerds about everything High Republic. Like Brian and I have literally been talking about the High Republic on the Timeline show for like 2 months straight now.
Yeah.
So I mean, obviously we love it, but I am curious. Thank you, Andrew. Andrew says, "Sorry, Tyler, I already clipped this moment," which is fine if it works next week. But no, actually, what you do, Andrew, is you just take that clip, and then the week whenever it does drop, we just take that clip and put it out there, like I said that the day before or something.
Just cut to it randomly, like in the middle of the video, and just cut back like nothing happened.
Yes, like nothing happened. Remove the timestamps, the dates from all of that. That's all we need. That's all we need. Manslayer says his hype level right now is a 6 to 7 after the trailer, mostly like an 8 to 9. if that is the general consensus for Star Wars
Mhm.
fans going forward, like that 5-6 range, and then if it bumps up, like that would be like ideal. Chris, thanks for hopping on. I would love to know, what is your hype level for the Acolyte right now? Like, what is our hype level in the chat? Let me know. Jay, are you at a 10 out of 10?
No, I'm not at a 10 of 10. And I'll tell you what. You Andrew, you can also clip this as well. I don't think the Acolyte trailer is coming out next week. I don't think it's happening. You know, I do.
The Vegas odds are like in your favor there. Like I'm trying to manifest something here, Jay.
I mean, look, I think, you know what's crazy? We've been talking about this since the start of the year. We've been
7.5.
We've been talking about it since April of last year.
Yeah,
To be
no, I
fair.
mean,
because
actually,
I saw the trailer with my own eyes on my tiny phone in a
Same.
blurry screen. Like I
Same.
saw the blurred out like Carrie Ann Moss on my phone.
Yeah.
I saw in the Moidian.
so
Sorry, Jay.
I'll give you this. I'll give you this. Like, I think
pretty
that there's like I'd say it's probably like a 65% chance it'll happen next week, but I'm going like against that current. What I do think is actually going to possibly be, what I do think is possibly going to be coming out though is possibly the Star Wars Outlaws trailer.
You think that you're gonna? You think they drop that before the Acolyte trailer?
I do think so. I do think so because I think that like for
I'd be
these
so- I'd
like
be
big
so
gaming.
mad.
No, I think for like these big gaming projects, like they actually do like they have a lot of build up and they have a lot of like announcements and like things to
that's fair.
showcase. So I think that like even more so like the Star Wars Outlaws trailer, like trailers who should like will probably be coming out before even the Acolyte. That's my big bet right there. Big Galaxy Brain bet.
So Nate said that he better be within the next week. I don't have enough ideas for Stephen A memes. For those of you who don't know, Nate handles most of the Star Wars. If you see a meme on our Twitter account, it's from Nate. So just know that he's the guru behind that. How about this one, Nate? This is by Stephen A. I'll see if I can remember. This is one of my favorite ones. It was like, today is a very bad day. Like, I am not happy today. Like, that's my best Stephen A. I can give. Like, where's it? And this would be my response to the Star Wars Outlaws trailer using my Stephen A. Is like, Jay, we don't care. Like, I do not care about the Star Wars Outlaws trailer until I get an Acolyte trailer. I do not give a rip about Star Wars Outlaws. Like, that to me is like, that comes out at the end of the year. Acolyte comes out in a few months. It's a brand new show in a brand new era for almost everyone. I want the trailer. I want to see what the High Republic looks like in these people's eyes. In like, how do you encapsulate the end of the High Republic in live action, like in a trailer? Like, does it feel like the High Republic in the trailer? And that's not necessarily something that's going to be easily conveyed within 60 seconds, but there should be signs of that just from like what they look like and some of the tone in the trailer. Like, and then this is supposed to be a darker even show from the like a dark side perspective. Like, I want to see like, are they going to be able to capture what I feel like the tone should be in 60 seconds, so I can also have that on loop to watch every day for the next 3 months.
See, here's the thing though with the High Republic, that this is an era that, yeah, you and I are familiar with it, but not grandma who's going to sit down and watch Disney Plus with me. You know what I mean? Like, she doesn't know anything about the High Republic. Hardly anybody outside of the book reading community knows much about the High Republic. And so I think if it's anything like the trailer that we saw, that fuzzy footage, to me that felt like High Republic. You could tell from the way the robes looked, from all the lightsabers, the yellow lightsabers for some reason scream High Republic when you see them, and the purple lightsabers for some reason when you see them all together, it just screams High Republic. But I think we talked about this once before. I think they need to put out instead of the trailer right now. Trust me, I want the trailer. I want the trailer like 8 months ago. But I still think they need to put something out, maybe some recap video or something, with the High Republic to kind of introduce people to that era. So even something with just the authors where they sit down and kind of, like a short, like behind the scenes documentary thing, like they've put out before about High Republic.
Like those gallery things they put on
Yeah,
Disney Plus.
exactly.
Like before the Ahsoka show came out, they did that like 3-minute whatever
Yes.
for Ahsoka.
Yes.
Could they even do that in the trailer though? Just have like
could.
some like subtitles like, hundreds of years before, this, and show something from Phantom Menace. We had the High Republic, just something
Before the dark
like that.
times. Before the
something like that.
Empire. Yeah.
That we could just, you could easily.
It'd be
you
a
could
lot
easily
like
do that.
the Revenge of the Sith teaser trailer. You remember that where it started with Obi-Wan and like before the dark times, and it's like, that was a banging trailer. Like
that's something we could do.
Yeah,
that's something we could do. And I'm sorry, Jay. I know you're a video game person. I do not want to diminish your excitement for Star Wars Outlaws. Like I hopefully will have a PS5 by the time that comes out, and we'll probably play that game. Like I know it's big. It's big news. Hopefully, that happens. But I must say that I could not give a rip about video games until the Acolyte trailer. Like that's all I care about at this moment in time.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I hope we get them both next week.
I'll give you this though. Like the Acolyte sure does have a bigger impact than Star Wars Outlaws. I think Outlaws will be great, and I think it'll be a lot of fun. But I think like the Acolyte is probably going to have a bigger impact.
So we're going to be talking about this later on, but Asajj Ventress voice actor Nika Futterman, she teased that more was going to come from her character at like a Comic-Con. A fan asked her a question about Asajj Ventress' return, and she said that it's only the beginning. Now we're about to talk about Bad Batch, so I don't want to get too much into this, but I just was curious what your guys' thoughts were. I was so wrong this week. I thought 2 episodes, middle of the season, she was going to be popping up. Like this was the prime time, and I was dead wrong. I was dead wrong on that. But what do you guys think about this? Before we get into like more Bad Batch talk, but do you take this? How much of a grain of salt are you taking this with? Because it's at a fan convention, and a fan is asking her this question.
I think this is like gonna happen. I think more Asajj Ventress will happen because the producers have also teased it happening as well. They said that you can expect more of Asajj Ventress. So the fact that it's not just her, but also the showrunners for the Bad Batch, I think it's 100% going to happen. I don't know, like
in what capacity do you think?
It could happen in Tales of the Jedi. I think that actually, you know what? Tales of the Jedi would actually be pretty cool. Like if Asajj Ventress, they do a 3-episode story talking about how she, comes back alive after Dark Disciple. Sorry, Dark Disciple. Like those who haven't read the book.
If they haven't read it by now.
I mean, yeah, if you haven't read it by now, I think it's kind of been out there for quite a while. So, but yeah, no, I think it's definitely going to happen.
Next, you're going to tell us that Luke is Vader's son. Like nobody ever knew that.
Yeah. What?
I'm sorry.
Okay, are we like Brian said? Let me take this like one book reference and then give like the biggest pop culture reference in all of Star Wars. Like, Manslayer kind of with you, Jay. He says that totally, Jay. You don't shake the waters in fandom with Ventress return and Dark Disciple just for one chapter. Why not? I'm sorry, I'm like the anti-Dark Disciple person in here, which I feel like is kind of funny because I'm usually one of the book people. I
love that.
I'm fine with them using it more if it contradicts a little bit, like as long as they're not just because I don't want to make it sound like I'm okay with them just overwriting the novels. Like I don't want them to do that, but they're from a certain point of view, I hate saying that, but there is a lot of leeway that you're given with some of these novels sometimes, and what can be stretched and what can't. And if it comes down to like some animated stuff, I'm almost always okay with them stretching that like a little bit, because I mean they did some of that with like the Ahsoka show and like Tales of the Jedi with her, and I would much rather deal with that than necessarily be stuck with one beat from a novel. Brian, Asajj Ventress, real quick.
Yeah, bring it on. I remember when that trailer first came out, and everybody was talking about freak. I don't know how many TikToks I saw of people taking their Dark Disciple book off the shelf and just throwing it away, and they're like, well, I guess that one doesn't matter anymore. And I'm like, no, it's still going to matter. And then like 2 days later, they came out and they were like, yeah, no, we're still going to honor what happened in Dark Disciple. They named the book by name, so they know exactly for beat what happened in that book. And we still don't know in what capacity she's coming back or how or anything like that. But they said it was going to make sense. So I'm sitting back and just kind of tempering my expectations a little bit, just being like, hey, well, whatever happens, happens. I expected her to pop up tonight because I just watched the 2 episodes before I came down, but I was expecting it tonight. But even then, in that announcement, they said, we're going to honor what happened in Dark Disciple moving forward with her character. So this is no surprise to me. Of course, they're going to do more Asajj Ventress. She turned into one of the fan favorites that she's like the anti-Ahsoka, basically. And I love Ventress, especially the path her character kind of took and the plots that she that character development, where she ended up from where she started. That's huge. I mean, that was a wicked journey. So I'm excited to see more of it. Yeah, bring it on.
We have, I think maybe it's just going to be a Tales of the Sith type of thing. And it's maybe some of her apprentice stuff or something like that. I don't know if moving forward she's going to be this new character. But we haven't heard anything on the future of Star Wars animation yet after the Bad Batch. We know that we're getting Tales of the Jedi, and probably another Star Wars Visions. But in terms of like Lucasfilm animation, like we don't know what the next main show is going to be, which honestly is kind of something with all the movie stuff going on and the live action shows is kind of getting slept on. The animation has been important and an integral part of Star Wars for a long time. And, I would say that the animated Star Wars community is about as passionate a Star Wars sect of the community that there is. And a couple last 2 quick hitters, not really anything to really discuss, but I just thought it was worthy of note. Ludwig Göransson, who's scored, a lot of The Mandalorian, most of The Mandalorian, he won his second Oscar, on Sunday for his original score for Oppenheimer. Have you both seen Oppenheimer?
Yeah, I have. Yeah, it's
Ryan,
good.
you haven't seen it?
I haven't yet. No,
it's good. Nope, and I mean, the score for that is fantastic. So
I need to.
I thought that was great. And what are the chances that we could see him nominated again for an original score for the Mandalorian and Grogu movie?
I'm shaking my head. Nah,
I don't know.
Star Wars never wins Jack. Yeah. No.
Yeah. Academy doesn't.
I didn't say he's gonna win.
But
how hard would it be for him? And he has name recognition. He has clout now.
Sure,
it's the second one, and it's to be the first Star Wars movie in several years, and just for the original score. Like it's not for anything in the movie. It's just for the score. And I feel like Star Wars has always, how many nominations did John Williams get for Star Wars scores? I'm curious. I don't know. Like I don't know what that number is.
He lost to himself one year. I remember that. I remember hearing about that.
Thank you, Nate. Thank you, Nate. I was like, was I going nuts here? What? I thought I was going nuts here.
Oh.
I was like, oh, thank you.
Yeah, no, I remember one year John Williams lost to himself. I don't remember which 2 movies it was though.
Was it Schindler's?
No, I don't think it was Schindler's. I want to say I don't remember which one it was.
He's gonna get one
of the Star Wars movies, but I don't remember which one beat which.
He's gonna get a nom. He's gonna get. I think Ludwig's gonna get nom. That's my early. Can I get on like Hard Rock Bet or DraftKings or FanDuel, like one of these betting sites, like somewhere, like not Sportsman, but like somewhere, on the books, and put my Ludwig Göransson 2027 or Oscars for after 2026, whatever that movie comes out.
Just go ahead and
best
start
original score nomination. Can I get? What are my odds on that right now? I'd be curious. Director Takashi Yamakaze mentioned Star Wars as inspiration when he and his team won the Oscar for Godzilla -1. I thought that was pretty exciting, just to see, him mention Star Wars on stage from a movie that I absolutely loved. Have you guys seen Godzilla -1?
Yeah, it's great. It's great.
It's so good.
That's not what I was expecting at all. Absolutely loved it.
That movie just was the most unexpected delight, I think, of the year for me.
Should have been nominated for Best Picture.
You think? I don't know. There's so many.
I think
so. Who are you going to knock out, though? You know what I mean?
That lizard looked intimately real.
Shouts to Jordan Monroe, the star of my second period class, or one of the stars, I should say, of my second period class. If I say the star, I'd probably be in trouble with some 25 other students in there. But all I'll say about Jordan is great kid. Broken jump shot, though. I saw him shoot some free throws today at school. It was tough. Granted, I didn't shoot that well either, so I can't say anything. But fair enough. Moving on. But yeah, so who would you knock out though? I'm curious. It's like it's a big list. It's a tough
Well,
list.
to
'Cause
be
I
honest,
wanted Barbie to be nominated. Like I love that
there were
movie.
so many movies that were mentioned that I'm sorry I never heard of. Poor Things.
You never heard of
I've heard of Poor
It's
Things,
Emma
but, like,
Stone,
yeah.
Mark Ruffalo, Willem
what was
Dafoe.
another one? American Fiction. I'm like, nope, haven't seen it.
That's the only one I hadn't seen. That's the only one I haven't seen. So
Oh, okay.
I can't knock it out of
Sure.
like the
Yeah.
categories because
Yeah.
I hadn't seen it. So I feel weird. It's a tough list. It was a tough list.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. I mean, to be fair, I'm not like the biggest like movie fan, and I don't go out to see like all the Best Picture nominees. So I'm like, but there are so many like the holdovers. Again, I'm not knocking these movies. Never, don't really pay attention.
Jay's like,
to
I
these.
haven't seen this movie, but I know that it's not as good as this movie that I like.
Why does Jay's opinion even matter? He was gonna kill Qui-Gon in episode 1.
Like for those of you watching, just take your shots now because it's the Star Wars Newsnet live drinking game of
Look.
every time we mention Jay killing off a beloved Star Wars character. Join us
Is
on
it that-
Thursday nights for the depth of your saga favorites.
But is it that controversial to say like that not many people have seen like Poor Things or like
No, I mean not many
Holdovers?
people have. I'm just saying that not that many people saw Godzilla -1 either. Like I
Definitely
mean,
more than those movies though.
Are you sure?
I'm pretty
do we
sure.
know that? Like, do you know that? You didn't.
We don't
you
know that for
it? You
sure,
haven't
but
even seen
I
those
have a
movies.
good feeling that more people saw those movies.
Poor Things was
than-
good. It was not my cup of tea per se.
Sure.
But as watching it, I was like, this is a good movie. This is well done. Like I can appreciate that like enough in its own sense.
Sure.
Last thing. Battlefront is back. Classic collection. I stayed up till midnight to play some Galactic Conquest mode last night, which was a terrible decision. Like on my end, I got up to
No, it
teach this.
wasn't.
I got up to teach this morning after going to bed at 1 a.m. I was like, what did I do with my life last night? Just so I could go to Paulus Massa as the rebels and fight the Empire for a moment. It was actually really hard. I was sitting there going, do I go Clone Wars? Do I go Galactic Civil War? Like, and I was like,
War,
I went
baby.
Galactic Civil War.
Yeah.
I went with the rebels and fought. It was just so it's so satisfying killing stormtroopers.
Yeah.
I went to Paulus
Popping the
Massa's
headshots,
my
just-
first, and then right after I was attacked on like Megiddo or something. I don't remember. Thank you, Nate.
Coming in clutch. Take that, Jay.
Take
Your
that. Now you're
opinion doesn't matter,
required.
Jay.
Now you're required to watch Poor Things as soon as the show's over.
That's true.
and That's what you're required to watch it now. Sorry,
true.
I don't make the rules. I heard that the online servers for Battlefront Classic Collection were terrible. Like it was a disaster. Brian, did you try to play yet or
No,
anything?
I've got it downloaded. I'm gonna wait till tomorrow night.
Okay.
and
Did you
then,
hear about the
Yeah,
servers?
I've heard
or
about all
anything?
the drama around this game. Like it's not hurting my enthusiasm for it all because I grew up with Battlefront 1 and 2. I adore those games. I absolutely adore them. And so I've seen everybody talking about, oh, the loading screen, the beeps aren't the same. Okay, so
What?
I get it.
Stop.
Like-
Someone complained about the beeps.
Yeah, the
Who are these people, and why did they wake up?
Yeah,
why do they wake up every day choosing to
They
be miserable?
They did. They're complaining that it's different. It's not as high
me a
pitched as
break.
the original. But anyway,
Give me a break.
I'm looking forward to playing it. My favorite map was always Hoth with the 8 TATs walking through, and that was the most OP freaking vehicle ever. Like in that game. I loved that. Sniping across the map as the scout troopers. Loved it. So yeah, I'm looking forward to tomorrow night. I'll take a break from Helldivers. I'll let my fellow Helldivers fight the war against the bugs and bots for a while, and I'm gonna get on some Battlefront. Instead of for Democracy, it's for Republic.
They had some of my students were talking about Helldivers today, and I'm like, I don't know anything about this other than what Brian has told me, but it's apparently it's catching on with everyone. Like it's a big thing. I took your word for it, but then when I hear the 13-year-olds start talking about it, I'm like, oh, it's reached new waves. Like it's
Yeah.
reaching all of us now. Jay, you wrote the review for the game. You've been playing it for a while now because I'm upset at you for getting to play it like 5 days before everyone.
Maybe
like
we should just kill off more iconic characters on the stream. Maybe we'll get some early access to some games. That'd be
That's
nice.
the secret, exactly. Yeah.
I sent a picture in our Discord chat of me like looking at my countdown screen. Did you see that? Like it was.
I did see that. Yeah.
It was like 2 days and 17 hours. I'm like, I hate Jay so much right now, because he just published his review that day. Jay, I'll give you a chance. Plug your review real quick and just share a couple things that you took away from it, and then we'll talk Bad Batch.
My thing with the game so far is it's fine so long as your goal is to just play single player. If your goal is to just play with your friend on couch co-op or to go through the galactic conquest on your own, yeah, absolutely, it's great for that. It's preserved just how you remember it is. But as someone who also is part of the gaming community, who also has my own gaming channel, Good Games Dude, as someone who is who has been following the games, just community as a whole,
right?
It's very, it is flawed, and it hasn't aged so well when you play online. It's I think, and I'm gonna put out a full multiplayer review of it later on. But I think that there are quite a few issues that go beyond just the servers. And again, I'll put it up on the website pretty soon. So keep an eye out for that. But hey, and I write this in my review as well.
Right.
Treat it as a historical artifact. It's there are stuff that hasn't aged so well, but then there are stuff that oh wow, this is emblematic of the time it came out.
Historical artifact. I have reached the age now. I'm only 26, but I've reached the age now where something that I enjoy with a child is now being referred to as a historical artifact.
It is in gaming years. 20 years is pretty old.
This is a milestone moment in my life. I will document 11/42 March 24th, 2024. I am now part of the historical artifact community. It's
all
fantastic.
downhill from there, man.
Well, speaking of things downhill, our Bad Batch group is down bad because they took a little bit of a hit this week. And let's get the thumbnail up there with Wrecker.
Down bad in what way?
They took people were dying. They almost died.
I say that because down bad could also mean in a sexual way, but I was
oh okay. Yeah, I guess so.
Know where Jay's mind is at tonight.
Jay, I'm done right now,
man.
I'm done. I just, for whatever reason, when you said my first thought was of Crosshair, and I'm just I don't know why. I'm wondering why. What's Crosshair?
He was in prison for a while, but
and so it's interesting. Hi, Kellen. Please make sure your essay is turned in on time. Are you one of the 43 that did not turn yours in? I hope not. Hey, actually, though, in fairness, I'm 140 students, so getting that many turning it in on time was a win. The other ELA teacher only had 50 turned in on time. So shout out to Miss Lucas, teacher of the year. Anyway, back to Bad Batch. So what do you guys think in terms of these 2 episodes? We were expecting, I talked with Jay last week and I put this on Instagram Live this week. I thought that this was going to be the week for Asajj Ventress return. We're in the middle of the season. We're in the heart of everything going on. 2 episodes are dropping. And I was this is definitely going to happen. Always appreciate the compliments from my students. Thank you. Anyway, so Asajj Ventress was going to show up this week. I was convinced. Not even close. The furthest thing from that happened, we got just straight clones drama. And I want to know what you guys thought, because I think a lot of people were expecting some sort of maybe a cameo or, some sort of other character. And I'm not trying to say here that that's a bad thing. I actually liked the fact that we just stuck to the Heart of the Clones storyline in this. But I thought it was cool starting off with the Senators and then moving with Rex. I'll throw it to you first, Brian, since you just watched them today. What would you say was the most enjoyable moment from these 2 episodes from you in terms of just making it such a, we're just focusing on, the clones, like apart from the Bad Batch, even to a sense,
Right.
because it started with Rex.
Oh, seeing Wolf back was great. And he's one of my favorite clone commanders of all time. And seeing him pop back up right at the very end of the first episode, and then having a big role kind of in the second, and kind of seeing the seeds planted, because he's with Rex and the other clones and Rebels when we see him. So, kind of planting the seeds a little bit there, and kind of put sowing that doubt a little bit. And Wolf,
And he's
I
so
love that
loyal to the
moment. Yeah, he
Empire
is
right
he's
now.
so and I love that. Can we talk about how like resilient this freaking Shadow like op is? The one like he's
It's
just
someone,
the
yeah,
most
it's gotta be someone special.
resilient character I've ever seen in Star Wars. There's like just wild avalanche dropped on him. He's blown up. He's thrown over 2 waterfalls. Like it's just shot in the face. Like it's just so many things happened to him, and he's just perfectly fine. But no, I had a lot of fun with these 2 episodes. The Saj Ventress thing, I was kind of surprised she didn't pop up, mainly because when Lucasfilm puts these trailers out, they usually put only footage in the trailers from like the first 3 or 4 episodes. Because how many times, like during Mando, have we gotten halfway through the season and we're like, that's everything in the trailer. We have no idea what's happening from here on out. And so I was kind of surprised that we didn't see Ventress in this first half of the season.
What about you, Jay?
The most enjoyable part, was definitely this mysterious assassin. I'll be real with you guys too, and I put this in the Discord chat as well. After that first episode, I was convinced that the assassin was actually Asajj Ventress. Because the other thing too was like it just seemed like you, Tyler. Like I was expecting someone big to make an appearance here in these 2 episodes, and I thought, oh, we're going back to the Clone Wars planets, the planet that Asajj Ventress reappears on. So I'm like, oh, this is kind of fitting. Like how fitting would it be that if for her to come back into animation, it will also be on the same planet that she appeared on as well. So I was like, oh no, this is gonna be Asajj. As time went on though, I do think that I don't think it's Asajj, and like we can talk about it too, but I think that there are a lot of interesting theories about who it could be. But I don't think it was. Unfortunately, I don't think it was Asajj.
It would have been a cool like parallel to have, because they're on Teth, which was like the planet from like the Clone Wars movie.
Yeah.
Right.
And so that's interesting that there were bases. So if it would be interesting if Asajj shows up for the first time in Bad Batch on that planet, that would have been a nice little like almost bookend to like her animation arc, depending on what happens with her in the Bad Batch. However, I did not think it was Asajj for a second, like the cyborg clone person. As soon as I saw that, the main antagonist for this episode was going to be like this clone, like I kind of just thought, okay, she's not showing up like these 2 episodes. Once like that first little 10 minutes was over and it was the cyborg clone got captured and they called in another operative to go in and it's Rex, I said, okay, we're not getting Asajj this time. It's just going to be kind of centric on just like a clone storyline. We're not going to have Hemlock. We're not going to have any other bounty hunter type stuff. It's just going to be, centered around the clones, because I think that ultimately, I don't know if I don't think this or I'm hoping this. I've always thought Tech was one of the cyborg kind of clones, I guess, is what we're hearing about. And part of me wonders if it's not Tech at all. And these are just normal clones. Like these are just normal clones, and that's okay. It doesn't have to be someone special. Part of this is just their own brothers are being brainwashed, and it just adds to the urgency that they need to rescue their clones, because more and more of them are being turned into these like shadow troopers, I guess, for lack of a better word. And so I'm curious what you guys think about, I guess they released the name of this person like CX07 or something. I don't know what it was.
CX2, I believe.
CX2. Okay,
Yeah.
Sure. Like, great name. Love it. And
yeah,
so,
just like pull these letters out of the hat.
It's probably what they did. Like Filoni and them were just like, all right. Like they got like the round table together of like these people, like who can pull out.
I mean, it could stand for maybe like Clone Force X or something like that.
Who knows?
Maybe they're fans of the Twitter renaming.
Maybe that's what they did. There's like, well, let's get on Elon Musk's good side here and include X in our clone assassins. So I'm curious what you guys thought about how Rex had heard of M counts and then says, but I'm not sure. And then they kind of at the end, he goes, you need to figure out what, this M count means. I was thinking maybe he would share what he had at least heard about this. And so my first thought was, is that how Asajj Ventress is going to end up in the show? They learn about M count, not that they seek her out, but when they encounter her, they end up learning about M count stuff through Asajj Ventress, and that's how she ultimately makes her way known. Because then I started thinking, oh, they could go to Gunji or they have this. But then I was like, wait, they don't know what an M count means. Like, they don't have any idea what that is. Like, they have to go figure that out. And how are they going to figure that out without tech? And it seems like Rex is just like, all right, see ya. Like, good luck, with all of that. So I'm curious how you guys think they're going to figure out what the M count is, because it's very clear now that Rex kind of made it clear to them. You can't just sit on the sidelines anymore. Like, she's the Empire's number one target right now. You're gonna have to, you can't just opt out. You have to go on the offensive here. You have to figure out why they are targeting her, so we can neutralize that. So Brian, how do you think they're ultimately going to learn about the M count and what that means? And is it going to feature like a Jedi or a Sith that we know about already?
I don't know. It's gonna have to be Ventress, like at some point. Like, it's the only other option at this point that I can think of for a Force user in this show. I mean, unless they do like the classic villain thing with Hemlock, where like right at the end he's telling his whole master plan, and as he's telling his whole master plan, somebody's sneaking up behind him, and like if he'd have just shot the person, he'd have been, he'd have won. I hope they don't do that trope, but that's the only thing I can think of is either Hemlock drops it, and whatnot, or they see it maybe on the data pad they've got.
Okay,
but I'm guessing Ventress is going to be the catalyst for that, or the fulcrum for that.
Okay, Jay.
I think a probably more simpler option is probably the best one. And I'm with Brian. I think that finding it off like a data pad is probably going to be the thing is, like, I don't want Asajj Ventress to just be an exposition dump.
Right.
I don't want her to just be in this because, we need someone to explain what M count is.
But you can do that. You can have her in without that just being the only reason she's in the show.
For sure.
Because I'd argue if you tie her into the story, like the integral part of the story, that this makes it more worthwhile having her in the show.
Sure. But I think that, well, the other thing too is what I was gonna say is we as the audience already know what the M count is. We already know what that means, and I think it might just be a little bit kind of pointless to spend a little bit too much time on the squad discovering what that is if we the audience already know it, right? So that's just my opinion, but
that's fair. What did you think of? There's all these clones getting together, and Rex's numbers are growing. But I thought, honestly, the part of the episodes that may have captivated me the most was the first 5 minutes when you had the two senators. Is it Senator Raxus? Is that his name?
Yeah.
Or is he? Yeah. Or he's from Raxus?
He's from Raxus. Yeah.
It's Senator. Gosh, what's his name again? Anybody?
Off the top of my head.
Someone in the chat, let me know what his name is. It's a senator from Raxus with Senator Tucci. And what did you think of that? To me, that was the most captivating moments. I love. It's kind of like Senator Singh. Thank you, guys. There, yes.
Yeah, that was
and so I love. And we get this some in Andor, and we have this throughout a lot of Star Wars mediums. I love it when you have the oppressive regime, whether it's the Empire or something else, and you have like the senators or some of the operatives. They're just trying to meet in secret to discuss what's going on. It's one of the reasons why I'm still mad that the Revenge of the Sith deleted scene with Mon Mothma and Padme and Organa and them got cut, because I thought it just added so much to what was going on. So what did you guys think of this opening, scene with, them trying to escort the senators? They're very clear of the danger that they're all in. And Jay, I'll throw this to you first. Are you a fan of those type of scenes, or do you think we've seen this, too much of this, let's get back with the Bad Batch?
No, it's definitely a good part. I mean, I think that it was nice seeing these senators, these characters that played a key part, and it's also nice to see what Captain Rex is doing outside of well, just yeah, what is he doing out in the larger galaxy? Because by the time we see him in Rebels, I mean, he's not really doing much of anything, right?
Right.
So it's cool to see these guys still in action. And I think that, yeah, no, I mean, it's just really awesome to see these guys work and to also see these other operatives that are
Mm-hmm.
proving to be a big foil to the clones.
Mm-hmm. So this reminds me, I had something I wanted to share. This is my prediction for Rex's storyline, and this actually ties into the Bad Batch, because Jay brought it up. I was gonna bring it up after this. I'll do it now because that's a good segue. Obviously, Rex is doing much of nothing in Rebels. Like he's just kind of, but right now we see Rex, and he can't stop fighting. He's like, I cannot stop fighting while our brothers are out there doing this. So my prediction is that the assault on Tantus is going to fail like miserably. They're gonna end up defeating Hemlock and getting rid of Hemlock so that way Omega is safe. But they're gonna lose so many of their brothers. Like the assault's going to fail. It's gonna go horribly wrong, and Rex is gonna lose pretty much every single person on his team and feel like he has failed all of the clones. And that's what he's gonna be like. I'm done. Like I cannot do this anymore. And him, Gregor, and Wolf are like, let's just go hunt the big Jumba and whatever planet that they're in. And that's when, ultimately Ezra showing up is going to get him back into the fight against the Empire. And I hate that idea because I would hate that for all the clones to see how that's going to go. But given what we see in Rebels and everything we know so far, it just feels to me as if we're gonna get that, arc of the clones. Everything's gonna go horribly wrong for them. Tantus, this is gonna be a max execution of clones. Obviously, I don't think their pension plan is gonna get passed, and we're gonna just see we're gonna see a mass, disaster for them, and it's gonna result in Rex being like, I'm done. Like I can't do this anymore. What do you guys think?
So, I mean, I've kind of been saying something similar to that, like since the start, which is I
Mhm.
think that we might actually have a Rogue One type ending. Um,
Are you saying that for the Bad Batch or all the clones? I would agree all for the clones, but for like the whole like are you talking like the main group like Hunter, Wrecker, Omega,
yeah,
Echo,
I think
and Crosshair, like those five, like they're
sure.
all of them are dying?
Not like all of them.
I'm
I
talking
think
about like the clones in like more
mm,
broader sense, like all the clones. I think that we're gonna have a decent number of the Bad Batch survive. I think Echo will. I think Echo and probably Hunter will live, but like I think Crosshair, Wrecker, and Omega will live.
yeah, I think Omega for sure. I mean, I'm not gonna rule out the possibility of everyone else though. I think that I mean I could be like talking out of my butt right now, but I think that like
Mm-hmm.
Omega for sure is gonna survive. I'm not too sure about like the rest of the squad. What about you, Brian? Though.
No,
Brian,
I
Jay's licking
agree.
his chops for a good
I
Star Wars
know.
death.
I know. I really thought he'd be like, "We're gonna kill off Omega," and I was like, "Well, here we go again." No, I think she's gonna survive it. Also, I think she's the only safe one. But at the same time, like, she's the most important one out of all of them. So if something happens to her, it's like that's a really dark ending. And so which I'm not against, because we're going into a very dark period in the galaxy,
Mm-hmm.
and I can see it going either way. I think she's gonna end up being safe. We're probably I'm gonna go ahead and say we're gonna lose two more of the Bad Batch. In the second half. I
I
don't know
don't
which
think
two
anyone
though.
is safe.
I
I
agree.
don't, I don't even think Omega is safe.
No.
I do think that I feel pretty good about most of them making it. Like it is ultimately Disney and Lucasfilm. Like I think that
Yeah.
they're not gonna. I just have a hard time thinking they're gonna kill the kid. That's the kid that's the main
Right.
point of the show. I Trent brings up a good point. What if Omega sacrifices herself because she knows she's way too important to the Empire to be left alive? That would. I just thought of that, and I'm glad Trent brought that up. Like that would be, I guess, the most shocking thing to happen. I think for everything. What if the Batch live and Omega were to sacrifice herself, and so they feel like they have failed. But
Right.
then I feel like if you're watching the show and you're watching through, you feel like the whole 3 seasons was like a failure because you're like, I watched 3 seasons for them to fail after the first episode was about getting this kid back, and then
Right.
they ultimately can't do it. Which I guess there's a room, there's a time and place for like tragic storytelling like that. I don't think it should be here, but it's possible. Brian, what are your thoughts on a potential Omega sacrifice?
I could see that. I don't want to see that, but the thing is, we never hear anywhere else about Boba Fett having a sister, and it's like I don't.
They just might want to preserve that.
Maybe, yeah, I don't know. I just when you start messing around with, and don't get me wrong, so far it's been pretty cool, but when you start talking about the clones and all that stuff, remember, like that's the reason we don't have the mystery around Boba Fett anymore. Remember Boba Fett used to be this faceless,
Yeah,
nameless Mandalorian that we
right.
just he was badass because he had 7 lines in 2 movies, so and then they basically just showed us his face without showing his face, and then just there's literally hundreds of thousands of them, millions of him just like him, like and so I just I the more they
Mhm.
touch on like the genetics of Boba Fett and stuff like that, the less he seems mysterious. But
Right.
I just I don't, unless there's another story somewhere down the line. Omega's got to be important because I mean she's got an M count. That's what we're leading up to. She's got something that allows that blood to bond, right? So
Right.
she's got to have some kind of M count. I'm not saying she's gonna be in a Jedi or anything. It's nothing like that, but I think she's gonna be more pivotal to this whole Project Necromancer thing
Yeah.
than what a lot of people are realizing. So I
No,
think I think she's
I,
gonna end up being safe.
I'm with you, Brian, because I think that even though we've been seeing so much of like the clones and of Project Necromancer going all the way back to season 1 and season 2 of The Mandalorian, I still don't think there's going to be like a resolute ending to all of it and to Omega's story until the Mandoverse movie.
Mm.
I think that
So
that
to
that
Omega story,
I think Omega still actually has more
you mean like
story to play
Project?
out
Really? How?
because
I
I think
don't like in the Mandoverse movie.
no, I mean I'm not saying like she's gonna appear in like the Mandoverse, but I'm saying that like I think that she definitely has more story to tell even beyond the Bad Batch. I think that she could be a character that could appear like in some other projects, maybe even in the Mandalorian.
Okay, that's
But
fair.
I think that for like Project Necromancer and the story about the clones, that's not gonna end anytime soon.
I mean, yeah, we know Project Necromancer is going on in the Mandoverse. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
right. Like it's going on, and we know it's. But I think that the thing is ultimately going to fail because they don't get Omega, and that's going to be like the point of the story is that it's about this little family that
Right.
ultimately saves the galaxy from Palpatine without even knowing it. Even
Yeah, and then
sometimes,
that's also why you have Grogu. So
yes. So fun episodes next week. I'm expecting to be. I think it's gonna be pretty. I think we're gonna be pretty like kind of balls to the wall for the last 8 9 episodes here. I mean, we're at just under the halfway point, right? There's 15 episodes or
I
16
think
this
that's
season.
right.
15 or 16.
15.
15. So I
15,
mean,
yeah.
we just finished episodes 6 and 7, so
Hmm.
we're basically right around that halfway point. So and it's gonna be pretty wild. I want to get a quick parting thoughts on Crosshair. I absolutely love what they're doing with his character. Who was it?
Hauser? Yeah.
Hauser was saying how he was so mad at Crosshair. He has this vendetta, like
Yeah.
this grudge against him, and then he goes, "Okay, you've clearly changed. Like I see the way you are
Yeah.
around the kid." And he goes, "The Empire, didn't show loyalty to me." And I just thought, without even saying it, it was him saying, "But this kid showed loyalty to me that no one else, really ever has in that sense. Like she just stood by me no matter what, even though she didn't even know me." And he's like, "I will do anything to protect this kid." And it's an interesting dynamic switch because instead of Hunter being the one that is usually talking to Omega before they go on the mission, or the one that Omega is like modeling herself after, we started from the very beginning. She's like, he's got the little like it's like toothpick or whatever. He's usually, messing with, and she's sitting there, messing with it, and she's doing her thing in her chair. And then later on in the episode, it's Crosshair telling Omega, like, stay close to me, stay down, like I'll handle this. And I'm wondering, I wonder how that. I just part of me wonders how that makes Hunter feel. Like, is he just happy Omega's safe, or is he even a little jealous of that? Because he looks back at that one point when he sees her, and he just kind of looks back and he sees like, oh, she's modeling herself after Crosshair. But I also love the fact that they're giving her the intimate, like, character developing, touch points with every single one of the batch, which was missing from season 1. And now in season 3, we're seeing that like full fold. And I really appreciate that. So I'm curious, real quick, just like, what do you guys think about Crosshair and everything going on, like with his character?
I think it's a great arc so far. I think it's building off of what came in season 2 really, really well. And it seems very natural. Like it's had enough time to play out that it doesn't feel rushed. It doesn't feel too long. It feels very natural with the kind of progression that it's taken, especially with his character. And with Crosshair, you understand his motivations too. Why he did what he did, and then also why he went back on it and decided to go back to the Bad Batch. I'm loving it. He's my favorite clone out of and not just because he's had some of the best episodes, but
favorite clone out of the batch or favorite clone?
Out of the batch. He's had the most character development out of any of them. And so I feel like this has really been a story about Crosshair throughout, and it's kind of coming full circle. So I'm really that's why I don't think he's making it out of this alive. I really don't. But that's why I'm all on board with this.
I love Crosshair. He's fantastic. Jay, any Crosshair thoughts?
I love the fact that the distrust that the batch had and the rest of the squad had is carrying forward through the other clones. Because that was one thing I was kind of worried about, like with last episode, was like, oh, all of a sudden they trust him now. That's kind of a sudden thing. But no, it now carries over to everyone else who doesn't trust him either. And if you think about it realistically, I mean, your circle of friends might be able to reaccept you right away, but how about the other people, right? So
in the batch, didn't at first too, but I thought it was great that when Hauser was questioning him and Hunter was the one who stepped up, was like, you're gonna have to stand down there, like you're gonna have to chill. And it just shows you how they were about to fight last episode. And then, they've reached an understanding to this point where, he is on our squad. Any final thoughts on the episodes before we get out of here tonight? No, we're feeling good. Jay, tell us where we can find you.
So you guys can actually find me on my YouTube channel, Good Games Dude. I have my own YouTube gaming channel. My Devil May Cry 5 essential gaming video has really popped off, and so I appreciate everyone who has checked that out. But you can also just find me here at Star Wars Newsnet, where I also do some reviews as well. And I also just did the Star Wars Battlefront review. I'll be doing a update on the multiplayer side.
And as always, make sure you check up on Jay's, some of his weekly just updates that he gives on Star Wars Newsnet. He's one of our best ones at just hopping in and give us some quick news refreshers. So Jay is always the man. Brian. No, like Brian, your turn. Like, what would you like to talk about? Yeah.
It seemed like there was a comma there instead of a. No, you guys can find me right here on the Newsnet every Thursday night, talking all this stuff with these clowns. And you head over to my website, StarWarsCanon.net. Check that out. I got the entire canon timeline. The entire Legends timeline is on there as well. Go check that out. And you guys can also catch me and Tyler each week right here on Star Wars Newsnet with the Timeline Show. We go through, and we actually started at the very, very beginning of the canon timeline. So we went back as far as we could with, I think it was a short story, wasn't it?
The example of one of the thumbnails. Was that this last? That wasn't this last one, but
no, that wasn't the last one. But I think what did we start with? I think it was the Queen's
Bloom.
It was some like random like short story that's kicked off the High Republic Phase 2, and so we're actually going chronologically, and we're going through the entire canon timeline, talking about everything, every comic issue, every short story, every novel, every game, every TV show, every movie, everything. We're going all the way through. Like Tyler said earlier, we've been doing it for 2 months, and we're still in the same year of the High Republic. I think we've made it like 4 weeks in the Star Wars timeline so far. So, leading up to a really big episode this coming week, the Battle of Jeddah, we're actually going to be talking about like different arcs from the comics, from the audiobook, all of this stuff crossing over at the same time. Basically, the whole battle from beginning to end, what was going on, why it was going on, everything. So, tune in for that, and get ready to watch Tyler talk about something he is not a fan of at all.
Which is the Battle of Jeddah.
Yeah, the Battle of Jeddah.
Wow.
Okay. I have to correct Brian for a moment. It's not that I'm not a
There we
fan
go.
of the Battle of Jeddah.
Sorry.
I'm fine with the Battle of Jeddah. It was just how familiar are you with Phase 2 of the High Republic, Jay?
It was overexposed, right?
There's
It
just
was
so
beaten
much
to
Battle of Jeddah.
death.
You
Yeah.
have both comic arcs stay there for a while. You have
Sure.
the Battle of Jeddah, like audio drama, like book. You have Cataclysm and Path of Vengeance that
Yeah.
spend a lot of time
Both
on the
crossing
Battle of
over,
Jeddah.
yeah.
It's just how it's like in like the Rising Storm with the Republic Fair on Valo. Like there wasn't just 5 things going on with the Republic
Yeah.
Fair on Valo for weeks on end, and it moved on and it ran its course. And like Midnight Horizon did not take place on Valo, but it felt like Path of Vengeance and Cataclysm spent half their time there. And I think that's part of why I didn't like some of the Phase 2 stuff on the back end as much, because I read Cataclysm and then I read most of the comics and then Path of Vengeance, and I'm like, I've lived Battle of Jeddah like 8 times now. Like I can't do it anymore. So it's not that I don't like the Battle of Jeddah. It's just I think right now I'm okay with it because haven't read it in years. So it's a little bit nice comeback.
Lucasfilm definitely treated it like a dead horse. They just it's just over and over.
Oh
and
man,
over.
I guess now I'm gonna watch Rogue One and be like, that stupid Jeddah. Like
Yeah,
I'm so glad it got blown up. So glad it got blown up by the Death Star. Can never go back ever again.
No, that's not true, because they did go back in the comics after it got hit by the Death Star.
Oh my gosh, that's right.
You need to read some comics, Tyler. We'll get you there.
I'm a little behind. Oh, I'm a little behind. Oh, I have to get there for
you
the
have
timeline
to for
show.
doing timeline show. Yeah,
yes.
We'll get you there. It'll be all right.
So yes, you can catch me on the Timeline Show every week. I just want to plug Star Wars Newsnet again. Please join us every Thursday here at Star Wars Newsnet Live. It's usually the 3 of us talking about like half the show talk about whatever happened in the Star Wars universe, and then usually we have just whatever topic of the week is. Right now we're in the Bad Batch every week. Once the Bad Batch is over, well, we might be jumping straight into Acolyte. Who knows? We'll see. But I'm excited for what the future holds there. As always, you can check out like a comic review of most of the High Republic. I published the Marvel High Republic review this week. Keep Trinus. If you are following that arc, it is getting kind of bonkers right now. We had several other comics that came out this week. You can catch the reviews for there. Star Wars Newsnet is your home for everything Star Wars. We cover comics, books, movies, TV shows, even the Oscars, with Vic Goranson winning Best Score. We even had a little thing about that. So that's something that I love about Star Wars Newsnet, as Brian mentioned it earlier, is that he wasn't really sure about the Patty Jenkins thing. But then because every fan site kind of runs with things. But then he saw, Star Wars Newsnet ran with it. Okay, it must have some credence to it. And I do love that about us, is that we spend and take our time to absolutely hone in on the hard-hitting stuff, and we don't just throw BS to the wall and hope it sticks. Like that's something that we're not going to do. So please like and subscribe to the channel. I would love for us to continue growing the Star Wars Newsnet community on YouTube. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify, please leave us a 5-star review. And we can get out of here. Hello, Michael Sacro. Miss you, buddy. And unless it's Mia, then Mia, I'll see you after spring break. And for Light and Life, any final words before we say goodbye?
No. May the Force be with you guys.
Until next time.
Have a good night, everyone.